At some point, office laborer Satoru Mikami is killed subsequent to being stabbed. He stirs in a cavern in a new dreamland to find that he has been resurrected as a sludge, having different abilities shaped from his last contemplations before death. While investigating the cavern, acquiring new abilities en route with the guide of an extraordinary sage dwelling to him, the ooze goes over and gets to know an old winged serpent named Veldora, who was fixed in the cavern hundreds of years prior. The sludge, who is given the new name of rimaru Tempest, assists Veldora with figuring out how to break his seal by utilizing his predator ability to swallow him inside his body and investigate it from the two sides. In the wake of acquiring abilities from gulping different animals, Rimuru gets himself away from the cavern after a gathering of human globetrotters open the entry. Rimuru then, at that point, experiences a gathering of trolls, who request his assistance in safeguarding them against a gathering of direwolves. Cooperating with the trolls, Rimuru fights against the direwolves and kills their chief, driving them to give up. Persuading the trolls and direwolves to live respectively as one, Rimuru gives them all names, however at that point drops for 3 days because of debilitating his wizardry. At the point when he awakens, he finds the names he had given to the trolls and direwolves had made them all develop. Understanding that the trolls have no abilities to create houses and garments, Rimuru and a little gathering set out to the town of Dworgen to look for help from Bantam craftsmen. Showing up at Dworgen with Gobta the troll, Rimuru winds up getting in a battle for certain hooligans and tossed behind bars. Rimuru is ultimately liberated in the wake of giving the Watchman mixtures and is acquainted with Kaijin the metal forger. Utilizing the magisteel mineral he had accumulated in the caverns, Rimuru assists Kaijin with satisfying a request for long swords in return for his assistance in giving craftsmen to the troll town. As Rimuru and the dwarves celebrate at a mythical person bar, a figure draws near. A soothsayer mythical person chooses to foresee Rimuru's ordained one, showing him a dream of a young lady heading out in different directions from her loved ones. At the point when Vesta, the priest who requested the blades, shows up and affronts Rimuru, Kaijin punches him out of resentment, bringing about both him, Rimuru, and different dwarves getting captured and placed being investigated. During the preliminary, the legend Lord Gazeldwargo, who has a set of experiences with Kaijin, exiles him and his men, who join Rimuru as his group of craftsmen. After likewise banishing Vesta for his exploitative activities, Gazel, seeing Rimuru's associations with Veldora, dispatches a ninja to follow him. At the point when the gathering of globetrotters who found Veldora's vanishing from the cavern, Aaron, Kaval, and Jido, are requested by a guildmaster to explore the woodland, a covered young lady named Shizu requests to go along with them. At the point when they run into inconvenience, they are protected by Rimuru, who perceives Shizu from the mythical person's vision. As Shizu uncovers she was called to this world from Japan during the conflict, Rimuru shares a portion of his recollections of a cutting-edge, serene Japan. What Rimuru doesn't have the foggiest idea, nonetheless, is that Shizu's summoner, the devil ruler Leon Cromwell, has made her the vessel of the fire soul Ifrit. Shizu reviews the torment she felt when the Ifrit inside her killed her companion in the wake of thinking of her as an adversary. Yet again similarly as Shizu gets ready to leave with the swashbucklers, Ifrit assumes command over her and releases his blazes upon the town. With his water assaults demonstrating ineffectual, Rimuru duplicates Aaron's ice sorcery spell to deal with Ifrit's cronies. Finding that he is safe to fire assaults, Rimuru utilizes his predator capacity to swallow Ifrit, isolating him from Shizu in the process. Shizu educates Rimuru regarding somebody known as the hero who took her in and showed her the correct way before strangely vanishing one day. Detecting her life is reaching a conclusion, Shizu, not wishing her body to stay in this world, requests that Rimuru eat her, empowering him to take a human structure. As Rimuru chooses to search out data on Leon to pass Shizu's last words on to him, a concealed man named Gelmud initiates an orc that he names Geld determined to deliver an extraordinary orc catastrophe in the forest. As Rimuru gets to know the structure and capacities he acquired from Shizu, the trolls go under assault by a gathering of monsters, who guarantee Rimuru has been controlling orcs to go after their town. After a demonstration of solidarity, Rimuru figures out how to persuade the monstrosities that he isn't their foe and welcomes them to the troll town to talk things over. Learning that the orcs who went after the beast town were being driven by a veiled magen, Rimuru recommends that the beasts go along with him as his subordinates. Consenting to a brief coalition until the orcs are crushed, Rimuru names the beasts Benimaru, Shuna, Cheyenne, Hakuru, Sui, and Kurobe, developing them into Kijins. In the meantime, the clan leader of the lizardmen, detecting an orc lord is controlling the large number of orcs traveling their direction, sends his child, Gabaru, to enroll help from goblins. It has been a couple of days since Benimaru and different monsters joined Rimuru. Gabaru shows up at Rimuru's town to attempt to get everybody to serve under him to battle the orcs. Gobta is sent in to duel against Gabaru, overcoming him rapidly with the abilities he's mastered and driving the lizardmen to withdraw. Afterward, Rimuru is moved toward by a dryad named Trainee, who requests that he rout the orc lord. Trainee makes sense of that the orc lord has utilized a remarkable expertise starved on the orcs, making them continually need food, go crazy, and even eat their own to acquire power. Tolerating Trainee's solicitation, Rimuru sends Sui to haggle with the lizardmen for a partnership. As the tribal leader encourages his fighters not to take part fighting with the orcs until Rimuru's gathering shows up, Gabaru, influenced by the expressions of Gelmud's courier Laplace, usurps the clan leader's situation and leads the lizardmen into an immediate assault on the orcs, ignorant about the orc lord's actual power. Rimuru's gathering go over Gabaru's sister, who educates them regarding Gabaru's rebellion and requests that they salvage the clan leader and save the lizardmen. In the meantime, Gabaru and his troop end up cornered after the orcs eat one of the fighters as Trainee finds Gelmud and Laplace and drives them away from the timberland. Gabaru battles against the orc general however is protected by the appearance of Rimuru's gathering. The pack rout the general and the majority of the orc armed force while Sui salvages the clan leader, after which Rimuru goes to defy Geld the orc lord. Gelmud unexpectedly shows up, uncovering he made the orc lord to transform him into another demon lord. Subsequent to neglecting to beat Rimuru, Gelmud is killed and gobbled up by Geld, who develops into the demon lord orc disaster that demonstrates excessively strong for the Kijins to overcome. Understanding Geld's power, Rimuru has the extraordinary sage assume command over his body to battle against him. However, after Geld creates imperviousness to fire, Rimuru resumes control and participates in a fight with Geld to see who can consume the other first. Discovering that Geld was on a hunt to end the starvation burdening his kin before he was controlled by Gelmud, Rimuru gobbles up his transgressions alongside his body. Subsequently, as the orcs are liberated from Starved's belongings, the Kijins choose to keep serving under Rimuru. Rimuru structures the Jura Forest Alliance to permit the lizardmen, trolls, and orcs to live respectively as one, accidentally winding up as the coalition's chancellor. Rimuru gives the name of Geld onto the orc lord's child, advancing him into orc king and the other orcs into high orcs. Then he gives the lizardmen tribal leader a name Abiru. Later Gabaru is suspended and banished from the lizardmen and sets out on an excursion. After 90 days, Dwarf King Gazel and his military show up at the goblin village to move Rimuru to a duel and decide his real essence. After Rimuru prevails and block his strikes as a whole, and after learning the too common the equivalent swordmaster, Hakuru, Gazel acknowledges he isn't shrewd and offers a settlement between their gatherings. The Jura Tempest Federation is framed and perceived as an authority nation. 2 days in the wake of shaping a collusion with Rimuru, Gazel visits once more, bringing Vesta, who apologizes to Rimuru and Kaijin for the difficulty he made previously and starts work for them as a specialist. Gabaru and his sister, alongside a few other lizardmen, likewise become Rimuru's workers, developing into Dragonoots after Rimuru names them. Sometime later, Meline Nava, one of the demon lords, checks out the Jura forest after the orc lord's loss and approaches Rimuru. Dreading for their lord's security, Rangda and the Kijin seem to shield Rimuru, however can do little against her staggering power. Eventually, Rimuru quiets Milim somewhere around, placing some honey into her mouth, and the two become companions, with Milim choosing to inhabit the town with him. In spite of being feeling better that she won't go after them any longer, Rimuru's board gets worried about Milim and Rimuru's new fellowship, as the other demon lords can see it as danger to their own equilibrium of power. Vesta prevails with regards to fostering a full elixir to rise to Rimuru's mixtures, provoking Rimuru to endeavor discussions to foster low elixirs in the city. All at once, Phobio, beastkeeper of the evil presence Lord Carrion, comes to Tempest with the aim of taking it over, yet is quickly managed by Milim before Rimuru settle things calmly. Offering Milim another weapon in return for data, Rimuru discovers that the other devil rulers have their sights set on him for thwarting their arrangement to make a mannequin evil spirit master. Afterward, the Border Survey Corps drove by a man named Yum, joined Aaron's party, come to Tempest, where Rimuru requests that they assume praise for overcoming the Orc Lord. In the meantime, the evil presence Master Clayman checks out a strong monster known as Charybdis and sends Tear the Harlequin to investigate, while Phobio exhausts over his embarrassment at Milim's hands. Tear and Footman, two of Clayman's Harlequin, approach and persuade him to turn into a demon lord himself so he can pursue retribution on Milim. All he should do is allow Charybdis to have his body and keep up with control. Phobio breaks the seal on Charybdis. Tyr uncovers she was compelled to restore Charybdis and send it Milim's way. Trainee's sister, Traya, cautions Rimuru of the recovery. Brought into the world from a haze of Vladora's magicules, Charybdis is the thoughtless leader of the skies, zeroed in just on obliteration. It has gathered 13 megalodon from the spirit world to help with its frenzy and is going to Jura. Rimuru and the Dworgen Empire get ready for battle. Assisted by 100 Pegasus Knights from Dworgen, Rimuru's powers obliterate the megalodons and endeavor to annihilate Charybdis with a full-scale assault, yet fizzle. Rimuru then fights Charybdis himself, just to find it is having Phobio, and its actual objective is Milim. By Rimuru's solicitation, Milim routs Charybdis while saving Phobio's life. After the fight, Phobio apologizes for all the difficulty he caused, and his lord, the demon Lord Carrion, lays out a peace settlement with Tempest. Rimuru and the others at long last find that every one of the difficulties they had confronted as of late were brought about by Clayman's Harlequin. The city commends its triumph with filleted megalodon. That evening, Rimuru has a fantasy about Shizu's disappointment over not having the option to help her understudies, 5 kids brought to this world. Rimuru goes to the kingdom of Ingracia with Ranga to see them. There, he meets Yuki Kagarizaka, the grandmaster responsible for the youngsters, a teen himself. Yuki sets up for Rimuru to show Shizu's understudies, yet cautions him that while both of them are other-worlders who came here, the youngsters are summons intended to be weapons for the summoner. They have such a lot of energy in their young bodies it will kill them in 5 years or less. Rimuru commitments to respect Shizu's desire and figure out how to save them. Rimuru states that it has been a long time since he was resurrected in this world, consequently putting Milim's landing in least a year after the Orc Lord incident. Shizu's understudies don't show Rimuru much regard, so he chooses to show them the distinction in their expertise in a progression of duels. Kenya utilizes shoot sorcery, Chloe water wizardry, Gale discharge enchantment projectiles, Ryota utilizes body improvements, and Alice utilizes puppetry to control toys to go after him. They lose and acknowledge him as master. Rimuru visits Trainee, accepting the kids will get by in the event but occupied by prevalent spirits since Shizu was summoned as a kid however lived to adulthood, potentially in light of Ifrit. Trainee guides him to the dwelling of spirits, however with the Queen of Spirits the Dryads once served dead, they have lost their connection to it and never again know the entry. While on a cookout with the understudies, they see a sky dragon making a beeline for the capital and Rimuru medals and eats it with gluttony. Njalmeyer, a dealer Rimuru's appearance saved, welcomes them to supper. Njalmeyer knows who Rimuru is and Rimuru welcomes him to come to Tempest to assist them with selling their products. He concurs.